Oh, there it is. Hello.
Hello. Hello, Vino 301 family. This is Leslie again, and I am here with Christina Callahan, who is another one of our fabulous tour ambassadors. Say hello, Christina.
Hello, Vino 301 clients, friends, customers, family,
Yes, all of the above, or new to
all the
us.
above.
Yes.
I almost said hello, Christina. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. It's okay. It's 5 o'clock someplace.
Right here.
What's in your glass?
Right now, actually, it looks like a rosé, and in a technical sense it is, and this is a very big bottle, although if it was a wine bottle, it wouldn't be so bad.
Mm-hmm.
So this is called Pools Island Brewing Company, and it's up near the Middle River area in Maryland. Kind of separates the Chesapeake Eastern Shore region from the Piedmont Plateau. It's almost right on that borderline. And this is actually it's done in a similar style as a traditional rosé, but it's actually brewed in a combination with the style of hops and grapes as well. So
very cool.
This reminds me of a traditional rosé. It has an intense amount of fruitiness to it, a little bit of citrus, but it has some creaminess to it, like a beer would, a little bit of lactic acid. So you don't think lactic and acid go together to make something creamy, but it actually has a very nice mouthfeel, very silky.
Well, you do when you talk about those buttery Chardonnays.
Yes. The feeling of creaminess, but not the taste. Yes, the flavor.
Exactly. Yeah,
so that's really, it's technically actually a little less than a wine bottle. So in the wine sense, it would be about 3 glasses.
So is it 16 ounces?
No, this one here is the this is the 32-ounce growler.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you see, put it next to my head, it's about the same size. So shout out to you, Pools Island. This is absolutely spectacular. One of my favorites.
Shout out to you. Way to go. That's very nice.
Yes. If you like beer but want wine, it's a great way to go.
Is it? Okay. One last question about it. So would somebody confuse it for being a cider?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't have that type of finish, tartness. It actually finishes like a wine and feels like a beer.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the best way I can explain it.
That is very cool. So when did you join Vino 301?
Almost to the day.
Really?
3 years ago. Yeah. April 2017.
Okay, so Pam and I were chatting, and I asked her how long she had been. And she said 2 years, but I thought it was 3 years and 17. So did you two start around the same time?
I started about the same time as Jen. Shortly right after.
Oh, because Jen said she started in 2016.
So that wasn't it, because I think she was the only full-time one that you'd had on that was steady. There was a few in between there, but then I was the next full-time hire that's been on since.
And then there was Pam.
Yes, and she came right about the same time as me. It was give or take a few months, not long after.
Pam did.
She wasn't. Okay. Maybe 2.5 years, I think, for Pam.
Yeah. Okay. I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah. A little more than 2.
Okay.
She must have been so excited she was drinking wine she forgot. Hi, Pam.
Let's go right. Let's go with that for right now. Okay. So when you're not having this fabulous career in wine tours, what do you do in your off time?
So I'm not a woman of one word. That is a layered question for me. And actually the answer very much encapsulates a lot about who I am. I'm a spur of the moment writer. I dabble in art. My favorite medium is charcoal. I really like soft pencils, oils and acrylics. And I actually have been just getting into figuring out how to work with wine ink on different types of paper. So that's been a bit of a fun process. And
you said wine ink?
ink, like spills. That it
Oh,
was
okay.
an oops.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And so because I really like artsy fartsy stuff, I'm always dabbling in something craft wise, but it has to be something that I create or build or take apart and redo into something else. And usually
Okay.
some type of charcoal paint, or well, now wine ink is involved in some way, shape, or form. But I ended up spilling some wine on something that I wanted to give to somebody that I did over the holidays. And I was so frustrated about it, and I couldn't fix it no matter what I used. So I decided to add to it with the same thing that caused the problem in the first place. And
There
that
you
was
go.
basically wine spill, wine stain. So that's something that I do. An interesting thing is I really don't do much art unless the mood strikes me, and it's usually because I'm gifting something to someone. So I generally
Mm-hmm.
don't do works of anything for myself. And then there's two other primary focuses I have in my life, and one of them is I'm an auntie. So I'm a caretaker for a 2-year-old, which fills my days with a lot of joy and mostly perplexing moments. And then the other one is my Meemaw.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say about 10 years ago, I left the hospitality industry to take care of her and become a full-time caregiver. And that hospitality industry, is not conducive. Nights, weekends, every holiday. And it kind of made me sad because I was giving up not only a passion, but industry friends and different things, and it just didn't work. However, the experience of being with her gave me an entirely new outlook on just about everything. And it also renewed and reignited some inspiration for my passion with
Mm-hmm.
wine, beer, spirits, enology, and viticulture. And I actually started finding very creative ways to reincorporate that into my caretaking. Um, I can say that when I'm not leading wine tours, there's some aspect of the industry that is in my life. It's just a part of me, a part of the people I'm around, and I truly don't feel like I can get enough of it in any way, shape, or form. Vino 301, for instance, you guys have been a great catalyst in helping me build relationships so that I can do things outside of tours in the industry. And I
Mm-hmm.
get a lot of hands-on experience in vineyards and with producers and tastings and judging and stuff that's just way, outside of what I would call work.
Right. Right.
And it's just really fun. And if I had free time, I would do that all the time. Um, so outside of the tours, it's Auntie Christina, it's Meemaw, my artsy fartsy projects, and maybe a cigar and a single malt scotch. And then if I have to do chores, then I usually add a martini into that, and it helps me practice my balance.
Okay.
That's about it.
That's about it. I thought when you were talking about your grandmother and that you incorporated the wine industry and the spirits, I was like, oh Lord, please don't tell me she's getting her drunk.
I've tried, but there's been a few, and I've actually shouted out credit to them, and uh, uh, personally, there's been a few things, and she said, "Oh, this tea is really good." Well, Mima, that's not tea. But yeah, she generally doesn't have a palate for it, but she picks up on things that I don't because she's not used to it. So every
Right.
once in a while, I'll tell her to taste this and tell me what she thinks, or if she picks up on something. So that's kind of fun.
That is fun. So, what is your favorite region that you go to when you're doing Maryland tours?
Okay, so this was an interesting thing, and I got a little confused in the very beginning, even though I'm a born and raised Marylander. After being away for 20 years and coming back to the industry, I was trying to figure out what are the AVAs, or technical regions.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Maryland Winery Association says that the state has 4 regions, but we also have trails. And a lot of the wine trails have similar names. So you'll have like the Antietam Trail, the Carroll Creek Trail, the Frederick Trail, and then the Piedmont Trail,
Mm-hmm.
which actually leads me to my favorite region, which is the Piedmont Plateau. So the 4 regions you have, I think, Piedmont Plateau, the Western Mountains, which is like the Cumberland side.
Right.
And then you have the Eastern Shore, which is considered Chesapeake. A lot of people call it that. And then the Southern Plains, which is like PG County, Calvert County, and further down south and off to the shore over that side. So my favorite is Piedmont. It encompasses just south of Baltimore and goes all the way up to the Pennsylvania line, just past Hagerstown. And in the Piedmont Plateau, there's Antietam, Carroll, Frederick, and then the Piedmont Wine Trail. And those trails all overlap in the Piedmont Plateau. And that is my absolute utmost favorite region because it has the most variety of soils. I think in the small capacity, or the small size of a region it is, it has a huge capacity for potential and variety. It has great aeration. The slopes get great sun. They vary in so many directions that there's just so many different things you can do. And I think the wines just show very well. It has you don't have to work as hard in that region to get a great wine, but I think that has a potential, if not already showing world-class wines.
I definitely agree. So for those who have been on our wine tours, are trying to figure where Christina is talking about, it would be part of the Patasco region,
yes,
and part of what we call the Westminster region.
Yes.
For our wine tours. And there are, like, Ligonor actually has its own AVA, which a lot of people don't realize that. And so does Catoctin.
Yes.
That area. But it's all clustered in that Western Maryland part of the state. If
Right.
you were right. And in the United States, there are only a few AVAs compared to if you were to look in Europe or other countries. So for the most part, we just don't talk about it that way because there's so much wine outside of those designated areas that it just doesn't ring true to people outside of the industry.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I tend to think of Maryland kind of like a mini Europe, but just because of the variety that it has and the potential that it has for so many things. Although I do think there's some specialties in certain areas. The state itself kind of reminds me a bit like Burgundy. The regions and designations are so small; they could be as big as someone's yard, or as small as someone's yard, or as big as a 100-acre farm, and it's literally different from just plot to plot, but we're such a small place. So I think it's a very special location. I think that Maryland has a unique area, and I think that Piedmont Plateau is probably my favorite. And if I had to get in my car and it just drove me somewhere, I'd end up right over there.
Yeah. I would agree. I definitely would agree. So what is your favorite wine? And it doesn't, let me say this, it doesn't have to be a Maryland wine. whatever
I
you
know.
your favorite.
It's an open, for me, that's a humdinger. Is that what that is? I've either been in the industry too long or not long enough to sum that up in one word, but
Or let me say this, what's your favorite varietal? I think that might make it a little easier.
maybe. I actually really like, I have a preference for Syrah, but if I was to pick a wine, if I had to be stranded on an island, if you're going to open my fridge, the very first thing that you're going to see, or in the little side cellar, the very first thing that you're going to notice is a bottle of bubbly. A bottle of bubbly of any kind, champenois methodois, so traditional champagne method. Rosé bubbly is my absolute favorite. I can drink it with anything for any reason at any time. And I never feel that I need it or have to have it, but literally it would be my go-to beverage. I have a little saying for me, and it's, if I'm sad, the bubbly is a pick-me-up. If I'm warm, it will chill me off and cool me down. If I'm cold, it'll warm me up. And if I'm in need of something comforting, it has a nice little snap, crackle, and pop. And if I don't need much of anything, I can pretty much drink it for no reason at all.
That's funny. You know, it took me a long time. I was not a big bubbles person.
Yeah, I'd say I didn't find it appealing. The first few bottles I tried.
Yeah, it took me a while to find what I liked. Yeah. And I made the mistake that I just thought, well, all bubbles are the same, but they're not. And they're just so diverse. So
very diverse. They give off a lot of different things, different regions. People often shy away from it because they say, oh, it gives me a headache. And I like to reference Alka-Seltzer, pop, pop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. So much like beer and Coca-Cola, sugar, soda, the carbonation sends that effect through the bloodstream that much faster. So the carbonation in the bubbly, you get not only the giddy effect, but you also get the after effects. So this is why sipping champagne is ideal rather than just drinking it. Having it as an aperitif and a digestif. Just like anything, the more you drink something, the more you become, I think, accustomed to it, and you develop your preferences and styles. Some people don't like something the first time they try it, and then after a few times they do. Some people never pick up a taste for it, and that's fine too. But I say traditional champagne method is the best way to go. And try something a little off dry, even a rosé of sorts, and just kind of go with it. Try a few different things, but bubbly is my favorite if I had to go to.
Okay. That's not a bad favorite.
And not Crow in particular for Maryland, I really like Crow bubbly.
Crow does have an excellent, they do. Yes, it's consistent.
It's consistent, and its price is very reasonable. So that's a plus.
Yeah. Way to go, Judy.
Hi, Judy.
So what tip would you give people if they went on a Vino 301 tour?
Well, when people think of tours, a lot of times they think of those, the, cheeky Metro DC tours, although they can be fun. Where you've got the guy on the microphone and he talks the same thing all the way around every time. And again, they're fun, especially if you want to get a little bit of information and have it delivered to you in a fun and interesting way, which we do. And then a lot of times people will think, oh, it's a tour. So you get to ride on a bus and you go drink. And that's part of it as well. But we're definitely not a limo service. We're many steps above that. We don't just pick you up and drive you. And it's more of a service. It's very customizable. it's very personable. And for each person, I'd say it should be a little bit different because that's what makes it extra special. So we have tour ambassadors that have a lot of unique knowledge and experiences. And some of us live right smack in the middle of wineries and breweries and distilleries. And this kind of coincides together in that we're not just a wine tour company. We help people to enjoy and experience and learn about Maryland wineries, breweries, distilleries, and really all the culinary delights that kind of go along with that. We all have unique backgrounds. We all have unique methods to help you enjoy what a Vino 301 tour is. So I would highly recommend that the day or two before, when your tour ambassador reaches out to you, really feel open to share what it is that you want to experience on the tour. Because sometimes people don't think that it's so much about that, and it's really all about that. And I think that if you're not doing that and you're not sharing, oh, we want to have a birthday or a girls' day or a get together with the guys, or we want to do some wines and beers and smoke some cigars. They don't just want to sit on a bus and go to each place and get dropped off and do a tasting. We incorporate so much more than that. So what you want to get out of the day is what we want to help you get out of the day. And so really communicating with your tour ambassador about what you hope to experience to fulfill that day and to make it successful for you will help us go that much further in ensuring that it's special. It's something special that you can do, so you can take away with more than just a memory. I have a little tasting technique called water in the boat, and I only share it unless he knows. I only share it with the Vino 301 tours and education tastings and private tastings that we do. And so that's kind of something extra special you're not going to get anywhere else. And each one of us has something special to bring to the table. And so it's not the same as just going somewhere and paying for a tasting ticket and tasting their wines.
Yeah.
So definitely communicate with your tour ambassador, because we're there to give you the utmost of what Maryland has to offer. And that encompasses a whole lot.
Yeah. So final question. I know. I wish I had.
Oh, there's another one?
Final question. So when the shelter in place, stay at home is over, what is the first thing you're going to do?
You know, there's a lot of things I can think of I want to do, or I should do. But if I'm just going to do what comes to heart first, I would probably get in the car and go drive over to Black Ankle, and with some really stinky cheese. And make sure it's a nice sunny day. And if it's not, sit in by the fireplace, and I'll probably just sit there and try as many wines as I can in the winery, and experiencing that, and just kind of getting back into sync from being away from them, because I actually get kind of a craving for them, and I feel like I have an addiction when I haven't gone on a tour or been able to go. And right now I can't go and visit them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so it's sad, because they're so pretty and they're so beautiful. But if not Black Ankle, I mean, I could think of a dozen easily. But I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to go to a winery where I can walk into the counter, say hello with my stinky cheese, buy some wine, and sit there and enjoy it. And hopefully I'll have some good company, but I can entertain myself. So either which way, that's what I'm going to do.
I'm quite sure that there are a lot of people who feel the same way. So you will have a lot of good company, and just get there early so you can get a spot.
Yeah. I've had it with the grocery stores. I'm done with that. Nope, I don't need it. I'm going to the winery.
Yes. Get there early. Well, thank you, Christina, for so much of your time and your words of
Absolutely.
wisdom. And I appreciate it. And hopefully people will see you along the wine trail.
I hope so. I look forward to it. And thank you so much, Leslie, for letting me share. And thank you guys all for being a part and joining Vino 301. I really hope to see you out there.
Thank you, Vino 301 family, and chat with you soon. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.